All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 57. Another crazy week in the books, and we're ecstatic to have you guys back. And we're just going to get right into it, right before the trade deadline. A lot of crazy things happening right now. Let's get right into it, Hunter.
Yeah, so the first question I have is from the first game of the week on Thursday night, Tampa Bay at Buffalo. I guess my thing is kind of after watching this game, the Bucs fall to 3-4. So what do they do going forward? Do you think that they should try to keep building on what they have, kind of not explode, but like blow it up? And like, it's just like with the trade deadline being tomorrow, do you deal Mike Evans? Like, what do you do if you're the Bucs GM?
See, this is the thing. I think, and again, if they weren't in the NFC South, I'm sure they're looking at it from a perspective of like, well, we could still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
We could still sell extra tickets. We could, you know what I mean? And that's where it makes it tough, is because the NFC South, as we know, such a toss-up. Even though I think it's starting to trend more in a certain direction.
Yeah.
That might not be the Bucs way. It's like you still feel like, you've got it. You've got a real good shot if you're the Bucs and everybody that's involved in that building, involved making money for that team. So that's the things I feel like from that perspective, probably not. But as we've been saying for a while, and this has been our narrative since before the season started, the Bucs are one of those teams in the premier slot, especially because, again, I'll bring it back up as I always do. You already got the job done in recent time. Like you already got the ring, got the banner in recent time. There's no better time after that when you know that things aren't going to be able to really, you're not going to be able to get back to Lombardi land with this team, right? It's like like we say, it's all about windows. It's all about how things line up. Realistically, the stars of the team are going to be too old to realign with young talent by the time that you can make it all work. It's like, let's just ship out the talent now and let's have a real good shot in 3 or 4 years, 5 years to be really competitive again. But a lot of teams are hesitant on that for a lot of reasons. I get it. And the Bucs are definitely one of those teams. But again, if they don't make at least one move in the next day, I do think we're going to sit back and we're going to say why, especially at the end of the year, that they were going to regret it.
Yeah, I think the Bucs have also been a team that has shown that they just don't they're one of those teams that just doesn't blow it up. Like they always are trying to compete, almost kind of like the Saints a little bit. Like maybe that's like an NFC South thing, but no,
it's the volatility of the division.
Yeah. I mean, they lost. I mean, here we can get into the game actually, but they only lost by 6 points. Like it was not like a game that was out of hand. I mean, watching this game though, did you ever feel like Tampa Bay was ever going to like really win this game? Like it still felt like it was in Buffalo's control a little bit.
And again, I think to your point, bro, I think what it goes back to more anything is, and I'm sure you agree with me about this, this is just one of those games where the Bills love to play down to their competition. This is a weekly thing at this point. The trend has not changed. They play fantastic one week and then they come and play really low to the comp or lose to like lower comp than them. And it makes no sense. It's just a Bills thing at this point. So it's like, it's one of the situations like, do I take more from this from the Bucs side or from the Bills side? And it's kind of like when you even it back out, it's like the Bucs played a good game. And it's the thing is they have talent. But again, it's all about if you're not first, you're last in this entire league. And from a realistic perspective, with this roster, the Bucs have such a minimal shot to be the best that it's like you might as well do yourself a favor for down the road so you can be, get yourself assets, because you're not going to get assets for these guys once they walk. You're not going to get assets for these guys. You know what I mean? Once they start getting older, they get injured. A lot of these guys still have value. So that's just how I look at it. Because again, we're getting into it in a second. But as we've been saying, how about this for an example, right? Even we've been saying for so long with Kirk and what's happened now. Bless the man, it's terrible. It's the last thing you want to see. I'm not trying to use this as like a victory lap or anything. Let me be completely clear. But the point stands that especially when it's not in your best interest to even hold on to them in the first place for your future, you got to offload them before something tragic happens where where you lose value on them, they lose value on themselves, and nobody's winning. That's just a bad situation for everybody, right? So, that's why it's like
the
you got to make the
reward for the Bucs is way more in the reward than it ever would be the risk, because this team is not making a deep run.
Let's just call it for what it is, right?
Yeah. Just kind of moving over to the Bills side of the game. What does this tell us about the Bills in terms of like how competitive they can be in the playoffs? Like I know they can play with anybody, but at the end of the day, when they continually play these close games down to their competition, what really makes you think that they can go in and go through that gauntlet that is the AFC, whether that's the Chiefs, the Jags, literally any AFC team in the playoffs? Like the AFC playoffs are literally going to be like an any given Sunday type of deal, in my opinion.
That's why it's been so hard to ride with the Bills, as we've been saying for so long now. This has been a 3-4 year thing at this point. They can look like the greatest team in the league one week, but it's never a consistent thing, and it's very unfortunate because I feel like actually what I'll say is there was a year more than anything where they kind of really were getting it going. You
Yeah.
know, and that was when their best year that they've had with this team, and you're like, oh, they really could do it this year, and then same thing in the playoffs. So I just again, for me at this point, it's like I just need to see you do it. Like I need to see you be able to put together 2, 3 in a row, 4 in a row when you need to do it. Because at this point, that is just going to be the Bills' narrative until they change it. They've done this themselves, but it is what it is, right?
No, I agree with you. Do you have any other points you want to go on in this game, or do you want to move on to
Yeah,
the
I had
next one?
one last thing I did want to say though, and if you're a Bills fan, you got to love this. The rise of Dalton Kincaid past 2 weeks. Over the past 2 weeks, 13 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. I was saying when he was drafted, I think this man could be one of the biggest impacting rookies. First few weeks, it kind of looked bad. He wasn't making a ton of plays, but you could see the potential. You could also see that it's a very loaded offense. He's in a little bit of a different situation. You got to really earn your reps in an offense like this. He's earned his reps. He's earned his keep. And if you're a Bills fan, you got to love it because you're just adding another productive mouth to feed in this offense. And Josh is going to feed him. So
Yeah, no, I think they did the right thing with going and getting Kincaid in the draft. I think he was what they viewed as probably the best pass catcher, but could you have imagined if they moved up to get Jordan Addison?
that would be insane.
Him and Diggs would have been nuts.